is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
Today, we're continuing our first impression series where we review the pilot episodes of the series streaming on Hallmark Plus. We're watching it, so you don't have to, but maybe you should. Let's find out. Today, we're talking When Calls the Heart, which began airing in 2014. If you want to hang out with us when the podcast is over, follow us on Instagram. We are Girls Gone Hallmark.
Hey, we have a Facebook group. It is called Girls Gone Hallmark. It's a nice place for, fans of Hallmark movies, fans of Girls Gone Hallmark.
Talking the good, the bad, and the ugly over on Girls Gone Hallmark Facebook group. And we have yet another review to read today from a listener who took my suggestion last week of leaving Girls Gone Hallmark a rating and a review in the Apple Podcast app. And if you're listening and you haven't done that, we would love it if you would do it. Here's an example of a recent 5-star review from Nicole titled, "This Girl Fell Down a Hallmark Rabbit Hole." She says, "Given the current state of the world, I turned to Hallmark as a mental escape over the holidays. However, when a friend recommended Megan and Wendy's podcast, my escape transformed into an almost full-time job of catch-up watching. Girls Gone Hallmark provides insightful, charming, hilarious reviews that give me the feeling of chatting with friends over coffee. Highly recommend you add these ladies to your lineup."
Didn't I tell you last week when we recorded? Because you were like, I have a goal. And I'm like, you got to tell the people what the goal is. You got to ask for the sale.
That's right.
And here they come. Here are all these reviews and ratings.
Keep them coming, guys.
Keep them coming.
As mentioned, today we are reviewing Season 1, Episode 1, Lost and Found, of When Calls the Heart, a series that began in 2014 and has just completed its 12th season. It originally premiered on January 11th, 2014, and let's hear a synopsis.
When a wooden plank inscribed with a sentimental message is discovered in the mine, new Constable Jack Thornton tries to discover the plank's rightful owner. Elizabeth struggles with capturing the enthusiasm of her students in the wake of the tragedy. I sourced that synopsis from the When Calls the Heart Wikipedia page because they were kind of different all over the place. And I thought that one kind of...
Yeah, that encapsulates this episode. I have a synopsis about kind of the intro of the series.
Okay.
Which is Elizabeth Thatcher, a young school teacher from a wealthy Eastern family, migrates from the big city to teach school in a small coal mining town in the West.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is... They should put the two together. Because it was like the introduction of Elizabeth and what she was doing there, plus this sort of like other story.
Yes. Brian Bird and Michael Landon Jr. created When Calls the Heart. Brian is credited as both a writer and producer for When Calls the Heart. He was also a producer on the series Touched by an Angel and Step by Step.
Did you watch Step by Step?
Did I watch Step by Step?
Friday nights, baby.
TGIF.
I watched it too. Suzanne Summers.
I think so.
I think so too.
Michael Landon Jr. is the son of the one and only Michael Landon of Little House on the Prairie fame. Michael has worked as a writer, producer, and director throughout his career, contributing to series like When Hope Calls and Highway to Heaven.
Highway to Heaven. With his dad? He worked on that show with his dad?
I think he worked, per IMDb, there was a movie, and I think he worked on that.
Got it. Erin Krakow stars as Elizabeth Thatcher. Erin has appeared in all 12 seasons of When Calls the Heart, which keeps her busy. Among her 17 other acting credits are the movies Santa Tell Me, The Wedding Cottage, and It Was Always Yous. It Was Always Yous, the Boston version. It Was Always You. And I gotta say, all three of those are bangers.
I know, she's so good.
Those are great movies.
Lori Loughlin plays Abigail Stanton and was in the series through season 6. We know Lori from her iconic role as Aunt Becky on Full House, as well as the series Summerland and the reboot of 90210.
Daniel Lissing plays Constable Jack Thornton. Daniel appeared on the series until season 5. After seeing just one episode, we can understand why fans were thrilled to see Daniel and Aaron back on screen together in Santa Tell Me.
Martin Cummings plays Henry Gowan. Martin has remained on the series through all 12 seasons. He has 90 acting credits, including a long-running role on the series Riverdale and a 6-episode run on Unreal.
The series is inspired by Jeanette Oakey's book of the same name from her Canadian West series. And also, as the series progresses, the cast expands to include notable Hallmark actors such as Kevin McGarry, Chris McNally, Pascal Hutton, Kevin Smith, Jack Wagner, and Andrea Brooks, among others.
Hey, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come right back with our first impression of When Calls the Heart. Let's talk When Calls the Heart.
You want to hear my first take?
I do.
Well, I have long maintained that When Calls the Heart would not be for me. Mm-hmm. Here's why. The historical setting does not appeal to my usual tastes. Yeah. Right? Plus, it has over a dozen seasons. Like, that is a lot of episodes to chew through. Yeah. It's just too big of a commitment. But with that said, I was genuinely surprised at how watchable this was. Mm-hmm. And while I didn't fall in love with it, I didn't dislike it as much as I thought I would.
You know, the first line of my notes is, although I'll say that this show is very much not my style, I did enjoy the first episode.
So did I.
Yeah. One of the reasons is Elizabeth is a fun character who's easy to root for.
I have the same note.
Oh.
We didn't share these notes, right?
No, okay. Not. When she fans herself after catching Jack chopping wood, so relatable. Mm-hmm. It's just a lighthearted moment. I think there's something about period pieces like this that make my brain forget that these are real people. Mm-hmm. So while they may behave differently, they still have a lot of the same motivations that we do many years in the future. And so that's one of those moments that...
Are you suggesting because she was sexually aroused by watching Constable Jack Thornton chop wood?
They're so buttoned up that reminder that, oh, these are humans.
Yeah. That was a funny, like, she was like, oh, waving herself. I thought that was a very funny take too. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed the character of Elizabeth Thatcher. It was giving, what is like a big movie? Oh my gosh.
Mission Impossible. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
So I'm saying you're like watching this like privileged and polished character, right? Who is super unprepared for this life in this like coal mine. There's got to be like some sort of reference point that is similar.
Email us girlsgonehallmark@gmail.com. I know what you're talking about, but I can't come up with one.
My mind is going to Audrey Hepburn for some reason, but it wasn't, you know, where she like talks all cockney. Like, what is that movie? She was not prime. Like, she wasn't like polished and primed. She was the one who was like rough around the edges.
I don't know what movie that is.
Pollyanna, am I thinking? Not Audrey Hepburn, but like you have like Pollyanna who's like perfect. No?
Maybe.
Oh my gosh. My brain is short circuiting right now.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Maybe someone will pick up what you're putting down, right?
Maybe. Or they're going to be like, this bozo. Anyway, I found Elizabeth charming. Unexpectedly charming.
I think the other thing I like about this show is we meet just enough of this town to be invested in a few characters and the story of the town, a mining town who has lost so many of its men, without getting too lost in the weeds of all these individual storylines. Mm-hmm. The past 2 first impression episodes we've done have been on shows that have had movie-length pilot episodes, and I actually was time-wise and also substance-wise pretty happy that this was a standard episode length. I think it really works for the show. It's just enough.
You think if it was a full movie length, it'd be too drawn out?
Yes, I think so. Perhaps not, but I think it works as a pilot. We know who this town is.
Yeah.
We know the motivation behind the people of the town. We meet a few of its characters. Obviously, there's a lot more to know, especially as the cast grows. But I feel like we have an idea of the main players in this town. And even if we don't know each individual character, we kind of know there's the miners and there's families, and we know there's the leader of the town who doesn't always have the best interest of those working in the mines, and the women and the children. We get an idea of what each of these people is going through.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty well done. And I spy an enemies to lovers storyline with Elizabeth and Jack. I mean, that's set up right up top for me.
I do have that note. There is a hard lean into the enemies to lovers, which I find super boring.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. Look, I think it's the hardest trope to do well. I've said it again and again. However, I do see why people loved them, even after just one episode.
There's some wild chemistry between these two.
You can't help but root for them to get together.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so funny is like I'm rooting for Elizabeth to succeed as a teacher, as a woman in this. It's called Coal Valley, which then is changed at some point
to Hope Valley. When does that happen, people?
And why?
Yeah.
So I'm rooting for her. I'm rooting for them to get together.
Yeah.
So it sets up like these things, like these storylines that make me excited for the series. So, I mean, well done. Well done.
Do you have anything else?
I just want to talk about Jack Thornton, Daniel Lissing.
Uh-huh.
I have never seen Daniel Lissing in anything before Santa Tell Me last year.
Same.
Loved him in that.
Yeah.
See him in this, and I'm like, whoa, I see why people liked him.
Yeah.
Like, obviously handsome, clean cut, charming, great smile. I can see why he's super appealing to fans. And now can see why people were so excited that these two were back together in that movie last year.
Yeah, because their chemistry is like, kapow.
Man, put him in some more movies. Did he? I can't rember his.
I don't think he did a lot after this.
Yeah, I'm like, what's his resume post When Calls the Heart?
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of Hallmark.
So I would love if he was in another Hallmark movie this year. Can I talk about what surprised me about this series?
Yes.
Beyond Elizabeth and Jack. And I said up top that like this historical setting wasn't going to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
But as a child, I really loved Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah.
And this episode like captured that same sort of, I don't want to say it, but wholesome
simplicity.
Yes. And I was thinking about it as I drove here today too. Why I loved Little House so much is because like the childhood I grew up in was not what I saw on TV in Little House. It was a little bit chaotic, sometimes volatile, like divorces, blended families, et cetera, et cetera. And watching Little House was just like such a simplified family, even though hard times, right?
Yeah.
But there was something like so genuine about it. And this show replicates that. I feel like
I agree with you.
And it's kind of funny that like Michael Landon's son worked on this show too. So I was like, well, okay, I see that touch of that. This storytelling, we have this like story of this like plank and like who wrote the message on it, and all these families are like affected by it, right? And I thought it felt like sincere, and you have like these characters, especially like the student who like stole the sign and whatever, but like he has this opportunity to like redeem himself.
Yeah.
Which I just feel like we don't get movies that are kind of in this vein. I mean, we might get some like redemption, but I do love a redemption storyline.
Sure.
So anyway, in addition, you have this like kapow chemistry between Elizabeth and Jack, but then you also have like these incredibly sad families filled with grief over their loss. It is a lot in 45 minutes. A lot. My final thing, I want to admit, I did not think, I kind of went in with like watching Lori Loughlin, like a weird kind of bias, similar to what I talked about in Pearl in Paradise, like going in and watching
Jill Wagner
with some sort of bias.
Yeah, but
right?
doesn't it make you mad that Lori Loughlin's good in this role?
I was like, this chick is a solid actor.
I know.
And I mean, of course, I've watched Full House forever, right? Of course. Like, she's a good actor. I did notice, I know we don't do Did You See This? Did you see that? But I did notice like her face was noticeably tan.
Okay.
And I was like, I wonder if that's intentional for a couple of reasons. One, like she's contrasting between her and Elizabeth. Like I'm a frontier woman and like I
work outside.
Yeah. And Elizabeth is like this,
kept daughter.
Perfect. I thought that was really smart. And I don't know if it was intentional or not. I'm like, maybe Aunt Becky just likes to use a bronzer. I don't know.
Okay, let's talk the Hallmark test. Is it giving Hallmark? Personally, I think this is exactly what people think when they think Hallmark because it is so wholesome.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's giving Hallmark to me.
I mean, of course, this show has been on 25 seasons or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny because even though it is pretty dramatic and dark because they lose so many of their sons and husbands in the mine, it also somehow manages to also feel pretty low stakes.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel high drama. I'm sympathetic to the fact that many people lost their lives, but it's not coming across that way.
Now, can you tell me, I don't know if it touched on it, but what year is this supposed to be?
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be like late 1800s.
What did I just read early 1900s, 1910.
Oh, okay. Because I know this season I saw previews for like a 20s era.
Yes. So this says the current season is set in the 1920s, but like the first season came out in 1910.
Okay, so they followed like a actual year-to-year chronological
close
timeline.
to it at least.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about the cast. I mean, look, we talked a little bit about the character of Elizabeth, but Erin Krakow, she is one of my favorites, and it's kind of a bummer that she's not in more stuff. She's on this series, so she's got to spend a few months of the year filming this. I'm glad that it seems like she's been getting at least, one additional movie
Per year. Yeah.
and they're good. Like, I loved The Wedding Cottage. I loved Santa Tell Me. Like, those are so fun. So lately everything she's in becomes like an instant new favorite of mine. So it's not really all that surprising that I found her so refreshing on screen.
And she's quite funny too.
She's really funny. Like, she's got great comedic timing. I'm picturing that scene in The Wedding Cottage where she's using the leaf blower. Can you remember that scene? And it's so funny to me. Santa Tell Me has a lot of those funny moments too. And I think I wasn't expecting that to translate here.
Got it. Yeah, in a period piece. Like, how are you funny on the frontier?
Look, I love Downton Abbey. Like, I'm not afraid of a period piece, but there's something about the Old West doesn't really appeal to me. Like, I don't want to watch a Western. Back to the Future 3 is my least favorite. Like, I'm not interested in like Old West content. It doesn't vibe for me. But she is really fun.
I agree. I really like Erin and Lori Loughlin together.
Yeah.
As well.
Almost like a mother-daughter.
I was going to say that. I feel like the character of Abigail is like a mentor to her, kind of showing her the way, wisdom, strength, like a sisterhood. I think they're real nice together. And I feel like, was there a recent story about how Erin wanted Lori to come back to the show?
So there was some discussion about that. It was in our Facebook group, I believe, and there may have been an article linked, but can we talk about the Lori Loughlin of it all? So my notes say after a single episode, I can see why she was such a beloved part of this series. There was some chatter in our Facebook group about the way things went down after her college admissions scandal. And I found a statement from Hallmark on TV Line from that time that says, "We are saddened by the recent news surrounding the college admissions allegations. We are no longer working with Lori Loughlin and have stopped development of all productions that air on the Crown Media Family Network channels involving Lori Loughlin, including Garage Sale Mysteries, an independent third-party production." This doesn't say it, but the line, what was discussed in our Facebook group, is it was said like recast her or the show isn't coming back. And she left the show. There's a lot of comparison being made to like Lori Loughlin and the Eric Mabius of it all right now. Although Hallmark isn't talking about Eric Mabius, but a lot of people feel like, well, is there any forgiveness to be had?
How do you feel about that?
I guess I feel like this woman knowingly defrauded the college admissions system. It wasn't an accident.
Okay.
There's nothing that she needs to go to like treatment for. She was like, I'm rich. I got kids that want to go to this school.
Okay, but Does that mean she should lose her job over that because she defrauded the system? She went to jail and served her time. Do you think she should be given another opportunity?
I don't know. I don't know. Because
let me Martha Stewart
yeah,
defrauded the system,
yeah,
served her time.
agree. And I love
came back
Martha
into
Stewart.
the entertainment business and is killing the game. Just a small bump in the road in a federal prison. So why can't Lori Loughlin be afforded the same? She served her time.
Yeah, that's a great point.
She did not kill anybody.
Was she ever apologetic for it?
I don't know. I mean, she turned herself in. I don't.
Yeah, because it was that or the FBI was going to come to her house. Yes, Lori Loughlin apologized for her role. During her sentencing, she expressed remorse for her actions, acknowledging they had undermined her daughters and contributed to societal inequities. Yeah, I don't know. Does she deserve another chance? I mean, my understanding is Hallmark has a clause in their contracts that's like, yeah, one strike and you're out, man.
Oh, really?
The morality clause was mentioned in our Facebook group.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't see that. I was not aware of it.
And so in that case, it's like, well, you signed this contract.
I wonder if that clause exists in 2025 with Hallmark.
Oh,
There was under a different leadership at that time.
I would not be surprised if Hallmark still maintains the same sort of clause. Anyway, I don't know. I liked her in this. I liked her as an actor in this.
Me too. I did too. It's complicated.
It is. Any other casting thoughts?
No.
Okay. Well, I think we all know the answer to this, but when we're talking keep it or skip it, are you going to keep watching?
I would keep it with a soft commitment.
Really?
Look, it's a lot of episodes. That alone makes it feel super overwhelming to me.
Yes.
I remember in 2020 when I was just sitting around doing jack shit, I watched Melrose Place, which was a lot of years and a lot of episodes, and I couldn't even get through it. Like, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. So I imagine with this show as well, there's probably stretches of episodes that are not good. There's probably seasons that are not good. No, I don't want to spend my time doing that. It's a keep it with a soft. I want to see here. I can't even believe I'm saying this. I want to see how Jack and Elizabeth's relationships develops.
Yeah, but then you're going to get in the weeds because there's all this other stuff with like the what are those other guys' names?
Chris McNally and Kevin McGarry.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I want to know like what ultimately happens to Jack and then how that plays out. Like, how do they introduce like the new guys and then I'll be season 9. You know,
I know. So this is my answer to this question. I thought this was a solid pilot episode. I, however, do not intend to continue watching the series. The fact that there are 12 seasons makes me want to cry, quite frankly. And ultimately, my notes say this isn't the kind of show I'm interested in watching. It's not that I found it unenjoyable. It's not my number one.
I think before I would have been like repulsed and be like, oh, I gotta turn this off. I don't want to even see this period piece on my TV.
Yeah, if there were 2 seasons and I'm like, I could find the whole story, sure, maybe I would be in. But 12 seasons to get all of this backstory and to understand, like, you know, there's people that are riding hard for Daniel Lissing and people that are riding hard for Chris McNally, and that's a lot of backstory to chew through.
I know.
Then you get like the Viv Leacock of it all. You have all these other side characters that we're supposed to care about
too.
It's too much of a commitment for me. But solid pilot episode.
Agree.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Gone Hallmark, a Bramble Jam podcast. That's it for our first impression of When Calls the Heart. Now go form your own. We'll be back with more Hallmark reviews next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.